The most striking thing about the Telegraph's opinion piece today about the budget yesterday is the breathlessness of the writing and the humour. It reads like a party rant that has been starved for too long, suddenly smelling the faint aroma of electoral victory and overeating hope. Still, there are kernels of reality buried in the rhetoric. Let's begin with Kemi Badenoch. The article treats her post-budget showboating as the moment the Conservatives rediscovered how to throw a punch. In truth, her attack on Rachel Reeves is not a revelation at all. It is her job. She leads His Majesty's opposition. If she manages 2 minutes of competent rebuttal in the Commons after a year of wandering in the desert, that is not an epoch-shaping breakthrough. It is a late start. Well done on clearing the bar that lies somewhere between ankle and carpet, but the rest of her speech was guff, padded with slogans rather than substance, and delivered with that curious mix of bravado and bafflement that's become her signature, when she can actually read what she's written on the piece of paper in front of her. Still, politics is a game of clips and headlines, and she's finally got one, a snippet, a meme, something for the socials. That alone counts as a small Conservative success, and the Telegraph knows it, and it clings to it like a political life raft. The deeper comedy is that her big line about the benefits street is a Conservative attack on a fiscal strategy that looks not dissimilar to what Conservatives were attempting until about 5 minutes ago. The article refuses accountability. The housing of asylum seekers in hotels began under their watch. The fiscal mess didn't drop from the sky. Reeves is governing within a straitjacket that the Conservatives stitched over 14 years. And if Reeves thinks that things have slightly improved, they haven't. Actually, the number of asylum seekers in hotels today apparently has gone up. Now, Nigel Farage. Here the opinion piece lands closer to the truth. The Reeves attack, interpreted by the Telegraph as a blow not only to Labour but to Reform UK, highlights something uncomfortable for Farage. He stumbled into being soft on welfare by saying he would remove the two-child benefit cap before hurriedly qualifying it. That is the sort of policy wobble Reform cannot afford. They trade on moral certainty as a brand. Doubt is arsenic to populism. There is a delightful symmetry emerging. Reform's rhetoric is becoming an unintentional catalogue. Russia, racism, recklessness, everything begins with an R. Reform itself, the party itself, Reform, R. It's raffish ringmaster Farage, and now his rehearsed reprehendency of Reeves, or rather her rehearsed reprehendency. I shall resist overdoing such alliteration for fear of imitating Leonard Sachs in the good old days. Your own, your very own. But the point remains, their politics has become a tight loop of repeated resentment. The article implies the Conservatives can reclaim working class authenticity by shouting about welfare and idleness, possibly, but it ignores two realities. First, credibility has left the Conservative Party like a tenant skipping rent. There's another R. Any good line Badenoch utters is immediately drowned by the memory of Truss, Johnson, and the steady conversion of Britain from a functioning state into a waiting room with potholes. Second, Farage has what Badenoch does not. He has charisma that works in a pub as well as in a studio. She is trying to look like a national leader. He is trying to look like your mischievous uncle who says the thing everybody is supposedly thinking. Avuncular. Television and can you be an avuncular racist? Television and social media amplify one of those far better than the other. The article dreams that welfare could be the new dividing line that lets the Conservatives push Reform back into the cage. It imagines donors returning, MPs sitting up straighter, and voters rewarding the party that gave them austerity and chaos by trusting them once again to enforce tough financial justice. That's a tall fantasy. A late budget response does not erase the ledger of failure. Then there is the curious sleight of hand throughout the piece. Starmer is suddenly about to fall. Reeves is already finished. An election might be called tomorrow. It reads like wishful thinking rather than strategic analysis. The Conservatives do not gain votes merely because Labour loses them. Schopenhauer told us that contempt is a poor substitute for argument, and the Conservatives seem to be relying entirely on contempt. Meanwhile, contempt is entertaining. Meanwhile, you only have to watch my channel, and you'll know how much contempt I've poured into the Smeg fridge. Meanwhile, we'll get there. Meanwhile, reform grows because it tells a simple story. Everyone running the country is rubbish, another R, and they are not them. The Conservatives have not yet found a way to puncture that bubble, except by reference. Couldn't they reference Kent? Kent? So yes, the leader of the opposition landed a hit. Yes, the Conservatives finally feel the blood rushing back to their political limbs. And yes, Farage has had a bad week, boxed in by his own rashness, another R. But the hard political arithmetic has not changed. The Tories cannot form a government without neutralising reform. Reform cannot collapse while the Conservatives keep borrowing its tune. And Labour is not going to implode simply because the Telegraph wishes it to. The piece mistakes a flicker for fire. It's a good quip for a recovery, a resumed attack for a revival, more R's. Reeves will take her knocks. Farage will relish his row. Badenoch will rehearse her lines once more. Can't think of an R for that. But for now, the Conservatives are still staring at the electoral abyss, congratulating themselves merely for having noticed that there's an edge to it and that they've managed to avoid toppling in.